Air Force One is generally known as the aircraft flying a highly ranked citizen of the United States of America, her president. It is one of the most expensive private jets, said to be worth $660 million. As popular as it is, there are a few interesting features and fascinating stories most people don't know of, from its impressive speed and aerial refueling capacity to its special in-house facilities. Did you know that like Air Force One, there is also a Marine One? Number 1. Air Force One isn't actually the name of the plane. Air Force One does not always represent an aircraft. It could mean a host of other things. The term is actually a general call sign used for any Air Force aircraft that the President of the United States is currently on. But if the President journeys through a civilian or his own plane, it is referred to as the Executive One. However, using Air Force One when referring to the two Boeing 747-200Bs that the President regularly travels in is acceptable. If the President is not on it, it is still called the Air Force One. There's also an Air Force Two. This is the call sign for any Air Force aircraft with the nation's Vice President in it. It is usually a Boeing C-32. Due to insecurity concerns, the President and his Vice never travel together on the same plane. Number 2. The Air Force crew knows every president's preference. The Oval Office and Air Force One were always filled with candy during the time of President Ronald Reagan, as he loved jelly beans. And that's the work of the Air Force One's crew. They're also aware of their tastes when it comes to coffee. We once saw a sign in the galley during a National Geographic video that says President Bush took his coffee black with equal, and Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice took decaf with cream and equal on the side. They need not ask every now and then. President Gerald R. Ford also loved the Rocky Mountain beer, such that his crew used to smuggle it into the presidential plane. Number 3. Air Force One has an impressive communication system. In case of an unexpected crisis, Air Force One already has all the president might need to make use of. It is filled with electronic gadgets, televisions, and 85 telephones. The telephones could be used for classified purposes or otherwise. It also has multi-frequency radios and Wi-Fi you can easily connect to. All these electronics are, of course, secured against cybercriminals and electromagnetic pulses. Air Force One also uses advanced security communications equipment to further improve its reliability. However, how exactly this works is not available to public knowledge. Nonetheless, it is said to have whatever will be needed in responding to an attack on the country while the president is in the air. Number 4. There is another presidential plane called the Flying Pentagon. The presidential Boeings are not the only aircraft for official use. There are Boeing E-4s on the ground for a much bleaker outcome. 4 of these aircrafts were built by the U.S. military in the 70s and as a means of safeguarding the president and other important officials in case of a nuclear attack during the Cold War. It is a plan for a great crisis, which is why it's called the Flying Pentagon, or sometimes the Doomsday Plane. How equipped this aircraft is not available to public knowledge, but its defenses are said to be over the bar. It has radiation-proof windows, coupled with shields from nuclear and thermal attacks. More so, it is said to have equipment against direct fire. In order to have the ability to reach forces worldwide, it was equipped with over 67 satellite dishes. It is basically a plane prepared for the worst. In times the president is not using it, the Secretary of Defense uses it for his trips. There are also one of these planes behind Air Force One should a crisis arise during overseas journeys. Number 5. Air Force One has a vast number of amenities. Air Force One is well equipped to serve the president. It has every feature required to make the aircraft one of a kind without compromising the president's comfortability. The Boeing 747 weighs about 800,000 pounds and spans a square footage of 4,000. The living area is divided into 3 levels, each with something unique. The plane houses a large office, bedroom, bathroom, and conference room that serves as an airborne Oval Office. It also comes with a medical area with an operating room if there's anything requiring urgent medical attention. A medical expert is always on board at all times to handle such emergencies. Air Force One has 2 kitchens, both equipped to prepare up to 2,000 meals on a flight. It can cater to and fill up the stomach of about 100 people at a time. Although the plane is used for transporting the president, many others can come with and occupy its 76 passenger seats. This usually includes the plane's staff, members of the president's staff, security detail, doctors, cooks, journalists, and special guests. However, being on a plane with the president does not mean you'd see him. They have their own special entrance and exit. Number 6. Air Force costs a lot to use and maintain. Each feature of the Air Force One is extremely expensive, and how much a single journey will cost depends on different factors. However, following the Freedom of Information Act request, operating the Air Force One is said to cost over $200,000 an hour. The food, drinks, maintenance, and fuel to be used are also included. Since the aircraft has a capacity of 53,611 gallons, the fuel cost is expected to be on the high side. Should we also consider the helicopter or limo the president will use after alighting from Air Force One, the cost of a single presidential trip will be higher than the initial estimate. Number 7. The Air Force One will soon be replaced. In a few years, the new Air Force One, already under construction, will be delivered to replace the current Boeing 747. The current Air Force One has been in use since the time of George H.W. Bush and is set to require a thorough upgrade. This new Air Force One costs over $3.2 billion, excluding major expenses, which is high compared to the current $660 million of Air Force One. The replacement agenda started during Barack Obama's era, but details of the acquisition process were completed by his successor, Donald Trump. The plane is named VC-25B and is said to be more efficient and bigger than the initial. It will have a range of 7,730 nautical miles, which is 1,000 nautical miles higher than the existing one. Its aerial refueling capacity will be dropped because it was never used in the old one. However, there will be upgrades on the ground operations, self-defense system, the interior decor, medical facility, the mission communication system, and the electrical power. It is expected to be in use by 2024. Number 8. Air Force One never parks at a terminal. The presidential aircraft can never be seen at an airport terminal. This is so that they don't risk the president's safety. It is also never there because there might be a situation where the president will need to be on the move at a moment's notice. Using the terminal might be a delay and risk to safety during an emergency. When the plane is not needed, it is parked at a military facility, Joint Base Andrews, which is outside of Washington, D.C. Number 9. Air Force One could be refueled mid-air. The Boeing 747 aircraft has an interesting feature. That is its ability to travel an unlimited distance due to its refueling capacity. It allows its tank to be topped while the flight is in the air. With this, the fuel tank getting empty won't stop the president from arriving at whatever destination. Flying overhead is a fuel plane that uses the aircraft's nose as a channel to refuel Air Force One. Despite how brilliant the idea is, the president has never had a reason to use this feature. The plane itself is extremely fast, reaching a maximum speed of 600 miles per hour. This is quite impressive given its over the average weight of 800,000 pounds. However, there are plans to build a supersonic jet for the president, since it will be much faster than the Boeing 747. Number 10. There's a Marine One. As there are various means of transport, the president does not only use airplanes, and as such, there is a presidential helicopter called the Marine One. Just like the Air Force One, the Marine One is a radio call sign for a Marine Corps helicopter transporting the president. Once in a while, new helicopters are added to the Marine One fleet. They all have features that will ensure the president's safety, and this includes ballistic armor and anti-missiles. The pilots flying them from Marine Helicopter Squadron 1 are known as the Nighthawks.